Where did you go to? Microphone? Down there. Where's Kyle, Hawaii? I guess I had gone to sleep earlier.
All right, everybody, let's try to gather in here. We're going to get started again. So we're going to go into this session. This is a YouTube live stream public session. So this is, we'll have to keep our trade secrets a little closer to the vest during this period of the conversation in the day. So welcome again to DryceDays 2021, the first annual Dryce gathering, and of our 61 Patreon members, I think we have 20 plus guys here. And I was just kind of looking around the room, and I think about half of the guys here have machines, and probably half of those guys are working them hard. So we got a nice variation of people. We've done some introductions earlier to some of the folks that are new, not familiar faces. We get chastised for this. We got like 70 hours of Zoom calls since last March. That when someone joins our group, they say, "Geez, what am I paying $500 a month for?" It's going to go to $750 next week. And so why would it go up? Well, it goes up because it's a combination of things. We use the raised prices as a retention tool. So those guys that joined at $150, my founding members, I mean, you built the value in the conversation and learning things and sharing things. So you got a deal. And as long as you stay a member, it's $150 a month. You $500 a month guys, sure. It's like you could look at that, it's like, dang, sure wish I could have joined at the $150. I get it. But you've got a massive amount of information that you're gaining from those 150 guys and what we've learned and watching those videos. The 750 guys, you're going to feel the same way. Dang, wish I could have joined at 500. Well, guess what's going to happen in 6 to 12 months after that? There's going to be somebody at a higher tier. I don't know where it's going to cap out, but I know that what consultants charge and what franchisor relationships look like, this is for nothing. It's almost free. It's ridiculous. So the hardest thing for me is conveying that information quickly when I first hear someone say, well, what's it cost? That's what everybody wants to know. How much does it cost? Well, okay, no contracts. I'm not trying to strap you into something you wish you didn't do. So yeah, it's you pay for a month. Well, geez, God, aren't you worried someone's going to join and just disappear after they get all your secrets after watching all your videos for 30 days? Yeah, sure, fine, leave. Guess what you're not going to learn? What we learn after the fact. So yeah, it's a really transparent business model. I refer to it as, there's doing business with cards down and there's doing business with cards up. I'm a cards up kind of guy. I don't want to run and control a multi-billion-dollar company with a bunch of employees, and I'm an independent spirit. I don't want to do that. So when Deborah and I talked about this, you got to have equipment to do this work. You got to have the right equipment. You got to know how to use it. And, the conversation at the kitchen table is, this one's like, I don't want to sell all this stuff. I don't want to do all the paperwork and book all the sales and everything. So we were fortunate and got introduced to Obsessed Garage, Matt Mormon. I knew of him. Probably 3 or 4 people that we both know attempted to introduce us prior to last March. But the slug, Tommy F. Yeah, that's supposed to be here today, that didn't make it. I only give him a free pass because his daughter's birthday Saturday, so okay. But he introduced us officially, and I wouldn't say the rest is history, but we're making history. And I want this to be something that belongs to you guys, and that we're growing and gaining knowledge and experience from one another. We're going to constantly try to refine and test and do things here to bring better products to market. but I don't want to sell the products. I want that guy to sell the products. So with no further ado, Mr. Mormon, would you please come up? Matt Mormon.
I wouldn't have come. Can I sit down?
Yes, absolutely, please. So I'm going to give the mic to Matt, and so you give us a little spiel about how you felt when this first started and we built our relationship. And I will tell you, the last thing I'll leave you with before I hand it over is, of all of the business relationships of consequence, and it's consequential, this is the very first no stress, no hassle business relationship, and one of the larger dollar volume relationships. What do we have in writing?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Just for the live stream, is that what this mic is for?
Yes.
So, I had found out about dry ice through vapor homing. Right? So I learned about vapor homing, and I've been friends with Tommy F. for a few years. I met through Adam LZ. And I had no interest in, like, I don't want to do it. Right? How do I just pay someone to take care of the car? And so I got my E36, which is a 96, beautiful car, but it wasn't perfect. And it still had the cosmoline and all that stuff. And so that's when Tommy's like, you got to get with this guy Scott. So I was interested, how can I pay Scott? Like, how can I pay him to clean my car? And we can make a really cool video doing that. And I had no idea that there was a subculture brewing, right? And so when I think of detailing, I think of it as a subculture. It's who people that detail, it's who they are, right? And so now I think dry ice can be another subculture. And just think about how big detailing is and how much it's grown in the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And so I saw this thing when Scott and I started talking. We hit it off immediately. There are very few people that you meet that are like Scott. You know, I've met, I would say, at least 200 other YouTubers. And I'm all excited. Every time I met one of them, especially the first 100 or so I've met, because I've met an equal. I've met an equal crazy person. I've met an equal obsessed person. I've met an equal who really loves whatever they're making videos about. And I've 100% of the time been disappointed. Because most of them are full of crap. Most of them are very charismatic. They are great at crafting and also gathering humans, which I'm terrible at. I'm just good at telling it like it is, but I love the stuff. I love the pursuit. I love that air compressor more than I like anybody in this room. Right? and so I met Scott, and you know, although he's more charismatic than me, we had that same kind of thought process around, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to chase it to the nth degree. And so when even just the evolution, and all of you guys have been, you know, following Scott or in the Patreon group, just the evolution that I've seen just in the last 6 months or 8 months. I mean, that's why the Bitcoin conversation is very timely. You know, dry ice feels very similar in that you guys are early adopters, and I thought there were going to be like 2 people here. And so I've already envisioned sitting back there. I'm like, I bet you in like 2.5 years there will be like 1,000 people in a room like this somewhere at the convention center, and Scott will make it happen. So dry ice to me is one of those things that, you know, like when you know, you look at how you could build a career around it, how you could build a business around it with very little cost. And I don't know how many of you saw our live stream where we talked about, you know, the business side of things, and how you should beg, borrow, steal in order to get, especially if you don't have direction, you don't have a clear direction, or if you have a business where this fits, how are you not, you know, borrowing? You need, you know, what do we figure, 70, 80 grand to start a business, can start generating $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year in direct attributable profitable revenue. Is there in what you can go to whatever college you want. You go to Harvard, there's no guarantee you're going to make 400 or 500 grand.
Right.
But you go to Scott's School of Dry Ice, and like that, it's incredible how this technology, if you want to call it that, or this idea of cleaning gunk on the bottom of fancy cars could generate a lifestyle like most dream of. You know, it's pretty cool to see. And so that's why I wanted to get involved. And I already have the distribution model, and like I don't want to do it. I just love the gear. You know, I love the air compressor and the machine. I mean, that machine is awesome, and I can't wait for the big one. And I shouldn't buy one, but I'm probably going to get one just for that. It's going to sit there and look pretty in the corner. But
Do you remember the last podcast, what we did at the very end, where you did some juxtapose, or like you said, you know,
a hypothetical.
Okay, I'm 18 years old, or I'm 23 years old, I got a BMW, you know, how did that go, something like that?
So I posed, I said, okay, Scott, if let's say I'm 28, I haven't gone to college, I'm floundering around, trying to figure out what my life direction is, I'm making 38,000 bucks a year doing something I frickin' hate, and I don't have any money. But I have an M3, and I have a $1,100 a month payment, and I just figure out how to make that happen. How do I start a business? How do I get a big air compressor and a machine and figure out how to doing something I hate and get to play with amazing cars? And how do I do that? I don't know where do I get 80 grand? How do I make that happen?
And so you remember the email I sent you?
Yeah.
This is the guy. Brian Vincent. So tell us your story. Why are you here? And
So he wasn't the guy. This is hypothetical, right? Like I just threw
that
out
was hypothetical,
story,
but,
he's the real embodiment
this
of
is
my
what
quick
happened.
story.
You
Okay.
tell us what happened in your head when you watched that podcast.
Okay.
Hold the close mic. Hold the close mic, right? Hold the mic close.
My name is Brian Vincent. I'm 22. I flew down here from Wilmington, North Carolina, and early October, I think the podcast was. I've been following Matt for about 3 or 4 years, and never met Scott before, heard of him, but on the podcast, was obviously introduced to the whole dry ice concept. And towards the end, Matt created this hypothetical, 28-year-old has a girlfriend, not sure if he wants to marry her. Is driving around.
I was pretty detailed.
Driving around in a mediocre BMW. He's
Scott's
like,
looking at me like, what are you talking about?
He's like, I'm getting kind of specific here, but but I thought of this hypothetical situation, I was better off than this hypothetical person, so why not give it a try?
So where'd you get the money? How do you make this happen?
So
Boy, tell him what you did. You sent me a note first, like in the middle of the night. He sends me an email.
I emailed both of you separately, similar email, but to the money. I made some lucky investments in crypto. Fun.
Boom.
So I put that up as collateral to buy the equipment. Now I'm kind of just playing the waiting game till the equipment gets to me. But
Well, he's got the.
I got all the smaller equipment.
It's the bigger stuff.
Couldn't pull
Yeah.
6 figures yet, but
Yeah.
we'll get there one day. We're trying.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yes.
So why that's so important and dear to me is, he's listening because of you and what you've done with your career and your life and your business. He's inspired by you. He's inspired by the group after I had a chance to sink my teeth into them and share with them, what's possible and talk about you guys that have success. And, it takes a special person to see all these things and put them together. But the pieces have to be there. And so one of the pieces we're lacking so far is this click one button, which you would have loved to have seen. If you'd have gone to the site, Obsessed Garage, and said, oh, there's a trailer with all the stuff I need. Click one button, and I'm in business. That's what we got to work toward.
Yeah, so that's what Tommy's here. So Tommy's head of product development at Obsessed Garage, and part of I think Scott and my skill set is the ability to be able to put together a system. Like I always have the question was like, well, where'd you get the money? Like, give me the real here. Like, how are we going to do this? What fittings do I need? How much does that cost? Then show me how to put it together, and then how am I getting the ice? And then how do I take care of the ice? How do are we calling it ice? Or, get in trouble calling it evaporate. Just don't say evaporator around Scott, because he loses his mind. Sublimate. Yeah. So what we're going to transition toward, what we're working toward, is I want to have an end-to-end solution, and various versions. So we'll have an end-to-end solution for the Evo. You'll have an end-to-end solution for the big machine.
Or 30.
We'll have also the ultimately. We even talked to FIAC and I lost my
Oh.
little
Just went to sleep.
hello.
Oh, how do I wake it up?
The little doohickey that's plugged in.
Yeah.
open the little flap and hit the on and off, I think the batteries are dying.
Good? No.
I can yell.
There it is.
We'll lose it on the live stream. There we go, we're back. So the goal here is to be able to provide a solution where you know exactly what you're getting, you know exactly what you need, you know exactly,
We got batteries.
yeah, you know exactly what you'll have to invest in order to get the machine that you'll need to do all the things that Scott's teaching.
Yeah.
And all the things that all of you guys collectively as a group are coming up with. Like one of the things that Scott, that resonated with me, he said, well, when you get your machine, be careful, because one of the things I just did here recently is I thought there was a bug on the windshield, and I started hammering down on it, and it cracked the whole windshield in half. Just like little tips like that, and how to hold the thing, and all the things that you guys are figuring out, I think is where this whole, the Dryce idea is really gonna provide extreme value. And I think that if we can get to the point to where we have these end-to-end solutions, it just makes it so much simpler. So you guys can focus on marketing, focus on finding, customers, focus on doing the job, and then hopefully hiring people to do it so that you don't have to, so that you can work on the business, not in the business. I mean, I think that's what everyone's goal, would theoretically be at some point, is that, I know Rex really well, he works like a machine. At some point, he's gonna fall apart. So you're already getting close to that. And so at some point you have to make that transition from I'm gonna do it and into I'm going to create it, or I'm going to work on the business instead of in it. I can yap all day about whatever you want me to.
Yeah, well, I guess the thing that we're all working toward is, it's one thing to start a new business and to be industrious and to take a risk and step out there and acquire the equipment, but what's your support group like? Who do you turn to when things don't work right? So I'm looking around. Let me just double check. I'm pretty confident I'm the oldest guy in the room. That means I've probably made the most mistakes of anybody in the room. That means I've learned a lot through the years. And so the combination of the people that I know, that I've met, that I've come across, I just have access to a lot of learning experiences that I'm willing and desirous of sharing. At the key driver for me that's hard for me to articulate quickly to people is the passion I have for the product and what I do, what I care about, and the opportunity to affect people's lives positively. So I've been a big advocate for, it's a hell of a lot more fun to give and to see people receive when you do that. I was shocked when I cleaned my first cars, sold them, and people started bringing me cars to clean. Their reaction at the price point I was charging. That was odd to me because, typically everybody's a grinder. We're all trying to save money any possible way we can. But when you're providing a service that's not possible to achieve any other way previously, and trust me, in the 50 years I've been cleaning stuff, equipment and trucks and cars and farming and marine, and it's a game changer, this technology, if properly applied. The problem is it seems like, oh shucks, I just buy the machine and it'll work. And,
Yeah, I've experienced that. I'm not as good at cleaning. I watch you do it. It's freaking easy. Just hose it down. Yeah. And I'm like, how come I'm not getting the result? I wasn't holding it straight. And even then,
yeah, I mean, there's a learned experience with everything, of course. But Kyle's here from Charlotte, North Carolina. They bought a machine, and not our machine, but we're going to have a machine coming to market, and it's going to be competitive. But there might be another machine comes in 3 to 4 years, and we'll always be pursuing the best equipment and the best processes and the best systems, so that everybody has a shot at being the most accomplished Dryce cleaner in their market. So I use this analogy a lot. There's 40,000 body shops approximately in the U.S. There's probably only 100 that I would have paint my car. And so I'm not advocating or suggesting that any of you guys listening or in this room now are an average dry ice cleaner. That's not what I want for you. I want to show you how to be the top tier dry ice cleaner so that you're booked and you're choosing the time and the projects to suit your passion.
So what's the difference? What's the difference between someone who sucks at it and someone who's good at it?
Well, you sort of alluded to it in your comment about just plug it in and pull the trigger. So the difference is that you have access to either, you're going to put the time in yourself to learn every...
To break stuff, right? Ruin
To break
cars,
stuff,
right.
yeah.
Ruin cars,
And so,
pay big bills, big repair bills.
you know, Matt Rutledge is here. Matt bought a machine, did not train with me. I didn't teach him a single thing, and he had great results. Well, I can't speak to why Matt and I had, you know, individual self-guided events that worked. All right, I'm sure Matt screwed up a few things, you know.
Started on the shit box.
It started on the crap. I mean, I cleaned my own cars first, made the mistakes. So the idea is for us to create this network of resource and get better at having the resources accessible. Like when you have a guy rolls in with a 944 turbo, where do I lift it? Where do I put the lift? You know, what do I got to watch out for? So yeah, you need us.
But the other piece is the resource.
Come on up, Matt. Matt, come on up.
Okay,
Oh, listen, that ain't gonna work with me. You can't just say, I'm not gonna come up.
I love our
Listen, so far, this guy has been the best counterpunch to me of all you guys. So I encourage you all to work harder at it. I really appreciate constructive criticism. This guy will challenge me anytime I need to be challenged, which is pretty often. So Matt Rutledge in LA area, basically. Introduce yourself.
All right.
Come on, take my seat.
Yeah, Matt Rutledge. Yeah, I'm in SoCal, Orange County. I'm a collector, right? And, Fortune 500, I work for Western Digital and Seagate in the hard drive business and ran $10 billion P&Ls. So kind of done doing that. Had a bunch of Porsches, want to clean them. And, I went down the rabbit hole, right? Before Scott. Actually, I saw Jacob on I Am Detailing, and I think everybody did. I mean, that's how I got introduced to dry ice.
Well, just so you know, Jacob saw me.
No, I know. You are the root. You are the root, but his scope was so much bigger, right?
Yes.
And the results that he was getting and the way he could display it was really great, right? It was fantastic. So I went down that rabbit hole and I thought, this can't cost more than 20 grand. Like, I'll just go buy one. Right? I mean, why does this thing cost 100 grand to do? It just shouldn't. And so I started digging into it, and I called Scott, who was trying to answer my questions and then not trying to answer my questions because he was pivoting away from cold jet and trying to do other things.
Yeah, we didn't have this yet.
And I was like, I don't know who this guy is. I'm like, I'm not sure. So, but I knew cold jet, and my Kaiser rep actually knew Jacob and told me what to do. And so I dropped 100 grand and bought it. And I figured if I don't like it, it's worth something. I could just resell it, right? I mean, the compressor's going to be worth what it is. That machine's 45 grand or whatever it was. I can resell it. So, yeah. But I love to argue. So, I mean, that's why.
So what do you clean? You clean like air cooled or air cooled Porsches or anything?
Anything. I mean, I got into transaxle cars, so I've got 928, 951, 924. I mean, anything with Cosmoline is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? But I also turned it into a business. So, I was off in between jobs, and I thought, what am I going to do? I need to do something, and I want to get more involved with the collector business and more involved with cars, doing something that I like. And I'm car ADD. I think a lot of us in the room can right? And so I thought, hey, if I can buy and sell cars, that'll sort of appease my car ADD-ness. And the logic was a clean car when you go to resell it is much better. It's a much better presentation. Bring a trailer got me, super interested in that. And so I don't know where I'm going to go with it, right? I mean, I'm kind of the in-between. I've done paid jobs, but I don't have to do this to live. So, you know, for me, it's part fun, but, you know, I love running businesses too. So, and it's really super interesting.
So how much, are you gonna do other people's cars?
Yeah, I have.
And how
Yeah.
much do you charge?
$250 an hour, minimum $2,000.
And what's the objection from the people?
No objection.
And are they scared going in saying like, oh, what's it gonna cost, $250, how many hours is it gonna take you? I mean,
Well, that's what we say. You know, we say it starts at about $2,000. Really need to see the car, right? A lot of times I try to say, give me pictures. You know, show me what you're trying to clean if you can. And then the other thing is I really need to see it, or we really need to look at it, and I can give you a better idea. But I also, you know, I have I have a network in SoCal of people that I deal with, right? So I've got a 911 guy. In fact, if you go on Jacob's channel, the silver Targa that he cleaned that's got like 1.2 million views, my 911 mechanic took that car to him because I was talking to him about dry ice. I just wasn't ready yet, right? So I actually think, I mean, and we should talk about this because I think that there's a series of ways for you guys to get in the business, and there's different ways to go prospect it, right? So, you know, we talked about AdWords. I'm not sure AdWords for our business is even necessary. I think it's interesting, and I think we should all learn about it, but we don't sell stuff online. I actually think you can, you know, do a lot more by just traveling around and meeting the shops around you, right? Or meeting the detailers around you. And there's different ways to sort of drum up the business. So my business comes from my mechanics. And there's a lot of, you know, if you think about it, like I've got my 911 guy, he drops a motor out and they rebuild a motor, and the guy's spending 15 grand to have the motor rebuilt. They'll send me a car with no motor in it to clean it. And the reason why my mechanic likes it is because he's more OCD than anybody I've ever seen. You go into his shop, you can eat off the floor. He doesn't want the dirty car in his shop.
so how many referral sources do you think you'll need to not have to do anything? 2 or 3?
Yeah,
Quality
because
referral
these
sources?
guys, I mean, to me, the mechanics are the connection to the collectors, right? I mean, Mark, how many collectors do you deal with, right?
Quite a bit.
Right? See, he's his own prospector because he's already got the collectors.
Yeah.
And so, in my mind, if I can just touch the right shops in the area, they're the shops that are very well known. So, for instance, I have a 928. The motor was built by a guy named Greg Brown, Precision Motorworks. He's like the king of 928s across the country. He's maniacal, but he knows every collector. So, for instance, if you guys remember the petrol blue 928 that sold on Bring a Trailer, $110,000, 78, that set the record, that car's in a shop, right? So it's guys like that that will connect us to the business.
So you're doing it?
Yeah,
Holding the gun?
sure.
So what happens when you have 10 shops that have, each of them have 10 collectors, and you've got 200 cars and just you? What's next?
So I think that for me, the business discussion is about scale, right? And you talk about that. I listen to your stuff, right? The key is if you want to do it yourself, it can be a great job. I've run the math. I've sent the business model to a lot of you guys, right? You can make anywhere from, you know, 100 grand working 2 or 3 days a week to 300 grand a year pulling the trigger, right? It's good money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that, but I set it up as a collector thing. So I was like, I'll work 10 to 15 hours a week and it'll pay for the machine. That was my goal. But I think that there is opportunity with the equipment and the scalability. And so, for instance, I've got a really great detailer. He's been looking at dry ice for 5 years. He doesn't have a building with power, and he can't afford the $100,000 investment.
Sure.
To me, that's a problem that needs to be solved. And I think that there is a way to provide a service that enables those guys to do what we do. And I know some of you are going to be like, oh, then they're going to compete with us. And yeah, they might. But there's so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity.
Every detailer I know that's paint correcting can't correct as many cars as he has.
Right. Exactly.
And it's just, once you establish a reputation, you have a few referral sources, like, I wouldn't even, you're just like, this is like 50% of the dry ice cleaners in the country sitting in this room right now.
That's right.
So, and there are tens of millions of cars to do.
Right.
I think the bigger question is, do you want to manage employees? Do you want to buy a bunch of machines? once you pay off your first machine, I'd be trying to figure out how am I gonna get my second machine? How am I gonna get my third machine? How am I gonna get my next place?
Yeah, and there's ways to do it. I mean, I've thought about, do we go invest? You know, do you invest in these guys and do you invest in the machine with them, and then you're partners, and it just gets ugly, right? I actually think there's an opportunity to palletize and drop something off and enable that.
But
right?
I think if you're a young guy, and if you get under Scott's wing and you build you don't have to know what a business plan looks like. Just build something. Just type it up, write it on a sheet of paper, write it neatly, present yourself well, put a collared shirt on, go to your uncle, go to your aunt,
right.
go to your neighbor, find some guy like me and say, Matt, here's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I need $82,000 to make this happen. Here's how long I think it's going to take me to pay you back. Here's the interest I'm going to give you, and then you're off the ground. You're off and running, and you're
That's
making $300K in a year and a half, and you're paid off in 3 years.
That's one thing. I mean, we have a member, John Edwards, Sub-Zero Detail. He's out of Dallas. I got connected with him on Facebook through this group, and he had exactly that. His father-in-law wanted to know what this was about. He was in Southern California. He came to my shop. I showed him, you know, this is how it works. This is what and the minute anybody sees it, this is what's spectacular about this. And this is why I was sold. I saw it all on video. But when you see it happen right in front of you and you see the result, I mean, people are just freaking blown away.
Yep.
So a good example, my 928 guy, I did a 100,000 mile 928 GTS. The guy was really cheap, and he's one of these difficult customers. And the guys told me, they're like, this guy's a difficult customer, but he's a clean freak. Do his car. So I did his car, and we quoted him $2,500 to $3,000. And I'm like, hey, I'm getting closer to 3. You need to tell your customer, blah blah blah. And they were like, you know, and he complained and whinged and whined the whole way. Dropped the car back. They start to put it up on the lift. The guy comes by to see it. Basically told him I would have paid double. I would have paid $5,000.
The value prop to the particular customer.
He couldn't believe it.
Couldn't believe it.
He couldn't believe it before,
Yeah.
and then once he saw it, it was like,
Right.
I'd have paid twice.
I think that's one thing that when you guys go back to the cost when you're explaining it to people in the first place is that after they see it, I think that they're gonna have a new respect for even their same car, so then they're gonna even treat it different.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you guys are
The
getting
key
involved
is
on.
to get someone in to get their first experience,
Yeah.
but not discount it in a way that sinks your boat for the rest of your engagement.
Yeah.
Right? So the key is like, hey, this is normally $3,000. I'll help you out. I'll show you how it works. Let me do it, and then you can tell me what it's worth at the end. Or I mean, then you might get screwed that way, but there's probably multiple ways to.
I would chase it in that I would